Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be doing a carburetors on the Suzuki GSXR 600 SRAD. It will be same on the 750, same procedure. So first we're going to take the seat off. You lift these corners up, and under each corner you see the bolt. Next thing we're going to do is remove these two bolts over here so we can lift the gas tank up. After you remove your bolts, you can pick up the tank and support it. I'm using a pry bar and a rag over here so I don't mess up the powder coated frame. Next we're going to remove the bolt over here, loosen up all the clamps and disconnect any kind of hoses that you see. There's one here, another one over here, there'll be one in the front. Just pay close attention so you can put it back together the same way. Okay, the last hose is in the front here. It's actually connected to the top of the carburetors in a series of hoses like this. They are very important to be in place, so when you're putting it back, you're gonna see it's gotta go right here. Okay, as you see, our carburetors are nicely exposed already, so we have a few more things to disconnect and we can get them up out of the bike and on the table. We got our electrical connector here to disconnect. I'm going to disconnect the vacuum line right here so all the other little vacuum lines stay hooked to the carburetor. Then we got a fuel line over here coming from the gas tank to disconnect, and we have to disconnect the throttle cables over here. And on this bike the idle adjuster was already loose, hanging down, but I believe it's attached to the frame down there somewhere. But that's pretty much it. You're gonna need a long screwdriver. I got a long screwdriver like this. You really don't need quite this long, but to loosen up the clamps you go right here through the frame. You can see the detail of the clamps. There's another hole in the frame just like this one on the other side, so you do 2 and 2. Here's my screwdriver coming in, and you basically just loosen up the outer clamp. So I'm gonna do the connector. You gotta press a little tab over here to get that off. I'm gonna disconnect this junction over here, then the fuel line. Fuel coming out of this line, which shouldn't really happen. I believe the fuel pump shouldn't let any fuel out, but I put a bolt here to stop it. And there's a connector back here. What I like to do here is just loosen up these brackets, and I don't unhook the cables from the carburetor until I pop the carburetor up off the engine. So now the carburetor is off. It's a lot easier to disconnect these cables. On this bike there is no choke cable. Somebody hooked the choke to this line, which is kind of caveman deal here. But normally you would have a choke cable hooked up right here, so you would unhook that. Carburetors are free and I can put them on the table. Working on your carburetors, I really recommend covering the intake manifolds with the rag. Last thing you need is to have some debris falling into the motor. Okay, the problem with these carburetors is that they're flooding when the bike is sitting parked. Once the bike was running fine and it would run all day long, but you let it parked overnight, it would flood and it wouldn't want to start. So I'm not going to get into the whole rebuild. Nevertheless, you're going to see how to take these apart, and most of the times you want to mess with carburetors is because the bike's been sitting, you need to clean the jets. So this will apply to that. First you want to do, we want to take the float balls out. So there's 3 screws in each. My float balls are removed. Now this is what the carburetor looks inside. You got a choke jet right here that it's fixed jet, you can't take it off. Then you got a main jet with the motion tube, is this one here, and this is your idle jet. That would be the same in all carburetors. Then you got a little pin right here that you take out, and with that you can remove the float and the float needle below. Like I told you earlier, my main concern in these carburetors is the flooding issue. The bike itself is running fine. Here's the float needle, Phillips head that you can remove, and after that screw is out, this whole seat can come out. You see, this seat came out pretty easily. I'm gonna replace these O-rings for sure and clean these seats inside. I use a chemical that you can get in Walmart that works really well for that. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, the chemical I use, it's this company and this name. You can buy that in Walmart or auto parts store. I think in Walmart it's less than $20. I got all 4 of my seats out and the needles. This thing is really handy because it comes with a little tray, and you just drop your stuff in the tray and put it in. You can leave it there for half hour, an hour. If I was gonna clean the whole carburetor, I would be taking off the idle jet, the main jet, the motion tube. Like I said, this one is built in, so you gotta leave that in and dump all that in there. When you turn the carburetor around, you have 2 screws on each one of the top covers. You can take those out, and you have a diaphragm here. I'm going to show you how to take one of these off just so you know what it looks like. Like I said, my carburetor runs fine, it's just flooding out, so I'm not going to worry about none of this, but I'm going to show you. You want to hold the top of the carburetor down because it's spring loaded. Once you get the screws out, you can pick it up. There's a spring like this that fits inside the cover. You can put that aside, and then you lift your assembly out. This is the diaphragm. You want to inspect the diaphragm, make sure there's no tears in it. And if your needle is dirty, this one is nice. You can use your needle nose pliers and just simply pull out this part right there, and then turn this upside down and get your needle out, and you can put this needle in the solution as well. If you are cleaning your carburetors because the bike has been sitting, it's important to take each individual cover of this side of the carburetor off. It's gonna look like this. The cover's off, and there is some more openings that you gotta clean. There's the air jet right there and right here. You gotta make sure that those are clean. The tool that I like to use is basically one of these hairs out of the wire brush. It works really great. You take pliers, rip it out, and it fits in all these jets. Once you have them out of the bike, and after you take them out of the solution, just run all the openings through, make sure everything is open. Over here on the choke jet that I was explaining you earlier that you can't take it off, just make sure that you can clean it through. This wire, it's small enough that it won't damage the jets. He's soaking in for about an hour. Now it's time to take them off. You can actually see how shiny they are, because the solution really takes all the residue away and it doesn't hurt any rubber parts. And I'm gonna go and rinse it in water, blow all the water out with the compressed air, and I'll start putting it back together. So now I got all my seats and everything clean. They're nice and clean inside. I'm replacing all the O-rings because I believe that's where my leaks were mainly. I like to use any kind of lubricant to get this in easy. You should feel a good amount of resistance, but it should go in by hand. Don't forget your set screw. I got my float needles also cleaned up, and when you're putting the float needles, what you want to do, you want to put them on your float first, like so, and suspend the whole assembly down. And that's it. So now all my floats are back, my float needles. If you clean your carburetor, you got by now all your jets back. So next thing you gotta inspect is your gasket. On this bike there was a jet kit put in there not too long ago, and all these things were replaced. So the gasket is good, see, it's not dirty. If this is dirty and nasty, you can also put that in the solution when you're cleaning your carbs. But inspect your gaskets. It's always better to get a rebuild kit when you're doing your carburetor, especially if the bike it's not been running for a while. But at least get your float bowl gaskets if you don't know what you got. And the jets, you don't really need. The float needles and the float bowl gaskets would be what I would definitely recommend getting before you even get into opening these carburetors up, or any other carburetors. Okay, so I'm gonna finish this up, and that's pretty much it. What is really beneficial also for your bike, if you have a bone stock bike, nothing ever done anything to it, you got these plugs here. See over here, there's a screw. It's an air and gas mixture screw. From factory there is a plug here. So if on your carburetor you don't see these screws and you see aluminum plug, what you can do, you can make a little hole with the drill bit and take a wood screw, put that. Be careful, because right underneath that plug is this screw, so you don't want to drill into the screw. Once you drill through that plug, get yourself a little wood screw, put it in, and with the pliers take the plug out and put these to 2.5 turns. That'll make the bike run much better. You can even go up to 3 turns. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Putting them in the bike, it's reversal of removing them. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you, and if you like to, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a good day.